Hi guys, my name is Chloe and today I'm going to be doing my February 2022 wrap up. So in February I didn't read quite as many books as I read in January, but January was a really big reading month for me. So in February I read 4 books, which doesn't feel as much compared to January, but when I looked at the number of pages read, I'd read 2,139 pages, which is just under half of the pages read in January, so overall not really too bad. And this month I did start working in the labs towards my master's project, so this has been a really busy month for me, but 2 of the books that I read were super chunky. So yeah, I'm not going to go through too many stats for this month just because there's only a handful of books to talk about. But I will mention that I'm also currently still in the middle of 3 other books, but because I haven't finished them yet, they won't be included in this month's wrap up, and so they'll carry on into March and hopefully I'll finish them then. So the first book I read in February was the Faire by Kathryn and Kingsley. I read this on ebook, and this is the 5th instalment in the Faire series and also the final book in the series. In this series we follow Cora Glass as she explores this circus which one day magically appears in the town she's living in, and so she goes and explores this, and while she's doing this she catches the eye of the puppeteer, this dark villainous man who wants her, and maybe only wants her so that he can turn her into a creepy doll, who knows. But it's a romance and it goes from there. And that's basically the summary of the first book, because obviously I can't tell you about this book because it is the final book in this series. But the series as a whole, I love it so much because it's so dark. Dark characters, dark in their themes. There is quite a lot of gore in these books, and they can be quite creepy and eerie at times, which is what I like about them. And they're kind of paranormal romance, I'd say, but definitely leaning on the darker side. And that's kind of what I love about the books I've read by this author so far. And this book, I forgot to mention, I gave 4 stars. The next book I finished in February was also by Kathryn and Kingsley, and this was Illusions of Grandeur. This is book 1 in the Julian Strand duology, and in this book we follow Alice, and she gets a job at the Strand mansion to look after the estate, do a walk around the grounds and the house before dark to make sure no one's breaking in or trespassing or whatever. And while she's on this job she happens to catch the eye of the resident ghost, and he becomes obsessed with her. And it goes from there. So yeah, it's a ghost romance really, which was unique and also dark and creepy. I really liked how spooky this book was. A couple of the times that I was reading it in bed, before we even got to the romance elements, I was just reading it and it was really creepy and kind of more horror-y than I was expecting for a romance. But I loved it, and I am currently on the second one still, and I'm hoping to finish it soon because I loved it so much. I did give this one 4.5 stars, and the only reason it didn't get 5 stars is because I found Charles, who is one of the main characters, a tad annoying in places, but otherwise this would have been a 5-star read. So the next book that I finished in February was a reread for me, and this was House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. In this book we follow Bryce Quinlan, who's half fae, as she investigates a series of murders, and the resident fallen angel Hunt Athalar has been assigned as her guard to protect her while she looks into these cases. This one is great. It's a epic urban fantasy, I'd say. The world building is incredible. I love the cast of characters in this. It's a slow burn romance, and I think this one is incredible. I love the amounts of twists and turns that are packed into this, and it was still just as emotional reading this book the second time round, and I loved it. So yeah, I gave this one 5 stars. This book was amazing. Next, in February, I of course read the sequel to House of Earth and Blood, House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J Maas again. This is the sequel, so I can't really go into the plot too much about this book, but we do follow the characters that we know and love from the first book. In this book, we get more POVs from different characters. I quite like seeing a point of view from Faire. He's the merman that we meet in book 1, so I loved seeing a bit more of his character. I love that we got to see more of Crescent City and the expansion to the world building and the magic. That was all great. This one I gave 4.5 stars because I didn't think it was quite as good as book 1. The stakes weren't really quite as high, and it's kind of more of a missing persons case versus a series of murders, alongside political escalation and stuff like that, which was great and it was interesting. It just didn't grip me as much as the first book, even though it was amazing. And the 0.5 stars is purely for the ending alone, because that shocked me. Really shocked me. Can't say why, but if you know, you know. And because of that, I'm super intrigued to pick up book 3, and I hope it doesn't take 2 years to come out because I really want to read the next one. So that was a nice and easy quick wrap up of all the books that I read in February. Let me know down below if you've read any of these and what you thought of them. And that's all for today. Bye!